Hello, everyone. This is EJ Schultz, news editor at Ad Age, and welcome to the latest edition of our monthly look at purpose marketing hits and misses. Joining me is our regular guest, Thomas Kolster, who is the founder and creative director at Copenhagen-based Goodvertising Agency, which advises companies and organizations on how to turn environmental, societal, and health risks into market opportunities. Welcome, Thomas.
Good to see you all again. Good to see you, EJ.
All right, let's get going. As usual, we'll start with our hits. The first one comes from Vinted, which is a European secondhand goods marketplace. And they're promoting their business model in a new campaign from creative agency Wolf Street that dramatizes overconsumption. Let's take a look.
These sunglasses are an everyday look. These are more every other day. You can never have enough purses or jackets. Right? We all own a lot of clothes. On Vinted, you can make extra money by selling clothes you don't need. Don't wear it, sell it.
Okay, there's several of those ads. There's another one that has a male as a man in the starring role. I think part of that one shows him like running on a treadmill with like dozens of shoes hanging off his feet. What's your take on this? You know, we've seen obviously in the past few years, this has become a popular conversation around, you know, just overconsumption, and a lot of brands like this have popped up to try to solve that problem and to try to encourage, you know, recycling of goods and the such. But why does this one work for you, in your opinion?
Yeah, I love the sort of interesting visual storytelling. I love the sort of really down-to-earth narrator. But what sort of brings it home is the fact that normalizes sustainable behavior. They're not going on some sort of violent-filled climate nonsense. They're just like, this is common sense. You know, fashion, it's overconsumption, it's gone overboard. And it's almost like they ridicule us, but we still laugh together with them. And so I think it takes a really, really clever, convenient way of turning overconsumption into actually making a dime. And I think it's becoming more of a trend just in general. I mean, 2 episodes back, we had Uber who was doing the same thing with trains. So sort of instead of talking about climate, instead of talking about saving the planet, it's sort of back to basics like quality, convenience, price. And I think they do this really, really well.
Yeah, sort of making it practical, making it mean something for my individual life kind of thing, right?
I mean, we you know, very few of us live under a rock. We have heard about climate change. We have heard about overconsumption. So why not just turn that into like a really compelling visual narrative? And I mean, first time I saw this, it pulled me in. It made me think twice. And that's what I love about it. I think even so those people who might not love the climate narrative will still think about Vinted as an easy, convenient platform to go and get rid of all that shit we shouldn't have had in the first place.
All right, moving along. Next up, we're going to take a look at an ad from Mushicraft, if I'm hopefully pronouncing that correctly. It's a self-described feminist craft beer brand from Vienna. And in a campaign from an offshoot of TBWA, the beer highlights laws across the globe that discriminate against women while promoting, quote, the most illegal beer. Let's take a look.
This is the most illegal beer in the world, breaking the laws from over 50 countries. Its only crime? Well, it's made by women. You see, in over 1/3 of the countries worldwide, there still exist laws forbidding women from doing things men can do.
Like what? Like what?
Like women worked in the brewery with yeast. Women produced alcohol. Women cleaned and repaired running machinery. Oh, by the way, this woman broke 3 laws from different countries just by using cosmetics and wearing tight jeans that are low cut at the same time. You think that's all? Not even close. Women worked night shifts for the beer. And also pulled hand trucks. Women lifted heavy beers, and women drove trucks. So, voila, the most illegal beer, made by the global realities of gender inequality. Oh wait, selling a beer in the bar and taking a sip during work.
There's a little philanthropic message at the end of there, so there is some sort of donation associated with this. Why did you like this one, Thomas? I didn't go through and fact check all the claims they're making on the individual laws. I found it interesting that they tossed in a few United States sort of municipalities or states in there as well, which was interesting. Why do you like this?
Yeah, that was a surprise to me as well, to be honest. But advertising agencies usually like these types of stunts where the product is sort of made to generate buzz around it. Why I feel the brewery gets it right is that it's quite a feminist topic to talk about, but somehow they make it palatable and more interesting for everyone to actually get interested in this topic because it's so fact-based. So taking something, a very emotional topic such as gender equality, and making it fact-based with these things that actually make you think, is this real, is this not real? So I think we talk so much about this idea about preaching to the converted. I think this spot sort of opens up for everyone to engage with the topic, and I love that about it. So it's not too much in your face, and these medieval laws that can still be in place even in the US is shocking.
Yeah, it's there's an educational component, like you're saying, which is kind of interesting. It's like, oh wow, I didn't realize that law is actually still in place in that spot, and so you're sort of learning something, but it's not too heavy-handed. It does. Go ahead.
Yes, I think it's difficult, right? I mean, feminism, usually would scare away, a majority of a target audience maybe, and it almost feels like this one at least makes you curious and want to actually press that link to learn more. So well done on that, and just I love the title, The Most Illegal Beer. That always makes it very interesting to begin with.
So moving on to our last hit, back here in the United States, comes from Comcast, which part of its Designed with Love campaign describes its Xfinity voice remote technology from the point of view of an employee who helped create it. Let's take a look at the ad from 72 and Sunny.
I grew up in Santurce, Puerto Rico. It always felt like paradise. It wasn't until we came to the States that I felt very fish out of water. Growing up, something that I always loved about coding is that programming languages have no gender and no skin color. And when you're just working on solving a problem, it takes all of the differences away. So when my team at Comcast developed the Xfinity voice remote, we tested it to recognize different types of accents, inflections, and languages.
New movies,
sports highlights,
romantic comedies,
minions,
películas para las familias.
The more voices we had, the more inclusive it became. So does anyone want to try the remote?
Coding videos.
It was really important that we had a diverse team working on the voice remote, and that we had a diverse group of people utilizing the voice remote after.
So of course, employee testimonial ads are nothing new. But why did you like this one, Thomas?
I mean, we've seen something similar from Apple as well recently. I'll be honest, it's a series of a couple of ads, and this was probably the only one ad that actually appealed to me. I think they get away with this very personal narrative. Usually I'm not a big fan of these testimonial type adverts, but somehow this one feels real, genuine, where some of the other ones in the series doesn't. They sort of come off more as a sort of toothpaste dentist type testimonial. So there's something about authenticity and being genuine in this ad. And obviously, I really do hope Leslie exists, ping me, Leslie, on LinkedIn if you do exist. And if Leslie doesn't exist, shame on you, Comcast. It's really hard to get this balance right, but I think somehow it appealed to me, and it's difficult. I mean, I think we often forget that the execution, by the end of the day, it comes down to execution, and it seems authentic.
And it sort of nicely promotes coding, right?
Yeah.
And it could be seen as either a recruitment ad for Comcast or more of a consumer-facing ad saying, these are kind of the people behind these products, and it kind of touts the functionality of the remote at the same time. So there's a lot there in a short amount of time that I think you're right, they get away with.
Yeah, and I think again, what can others take away from it? Yeah, testimonials can work if really, really well done. So good on you, Leslie.
All right, moving along to our misses. We're going to begin with the pasta brand Barilla, which teamed up with organization maven Marie Kondo, who attempts to convince us of how Barilla boxes can be used for packing clothes to be sold on a secondhand platform. Now, this ad debuted during Global Recycling Day, and it comes from Publicis Group's Le Pub. Let's take a watch.
Hello, I'm Marie Kondo. This spaghetti pack is perfect for lunch together. But also for packing these clothes, I sold in a second-hand platform.
All right, that ad is really trying. And there's a lot to unpack there, no pun intended. But and Marie Kondo has had her own sort of evolution, which we can talk about. But I'll let you start on this one, Thomas.
I mean, we went from Comcast designed with love to apparently more love from Barilla. I mean, I'm just sitting there and wishing I could take the Barilla box and turn it into a television and just turn off the ad just completely. I don't know. I think it's a real challenge these days that as a brand you focus on the lesser of two evils. I mean, if you look at Barilla as a company, what are the real impacts? I mean, we're talking about agricultural products, the massive impact of agriculture on environment and health. So to be honest, I think it's a bit tone deaf to do an advert like this. I mean, in the beginning, I hope there was some sort of funny twist towards the end, so I didn't know if I should cry or laugh, but there wasn't. So it's this sort of advertising work I would say we don't need in our industry because it's I feel ill-intended.
Not to mention, these boxes are not that unusual. Like, what differentiates a Barilla box from another kind of box that's in your pantry? Like, what is so special about it that has made it so that you can use it to pack socks?
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes the issue I saw in early days of purpose and early days of sustainability was that there wasn't really like a brand relevance. There's no connection between the brand and this effort whatsoever.
Right, exactly.
And I think you could gotten away with it in the early days of sustainability and purpose. Today, not so much. So it's an unfortunate effort and definitely a miss.
Marie, I mentioned Marie Kondo. I was just researching. She has sort of evolved too. I mean, this ad doesn't necessarily speak to organization per se, but she's really evolved on that. As a parent, I can empathize because she's basically come out and said, as long as the living room floor is clean, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
She says she realizes she just wants to spend more time with her kids.
Yeah.
And so everything doesn't have to be neatly packed away in a box every single minute of the day.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think this ad necessarily contradicts her current position on that, but just as context, I wanted to talk about that. But anyway, we can move on.
Yeah.
We can move on to home improvement. We're going to see an ad from the British home improvement chain B&Q, and the spot from Uncommon sort of acts as a motivational tool to get people to actually start daunting home improvement projects. Let's watch.
You can't, said the voice. You just can't. It's too big. It's too fiddly. Too disgusting. You don't have the strength. You don't have the eye, the knack, the know-how. You don't have the time or the patience. Maybe after one more cup of tea, one more YouTube video. Maybe next year, maybe never. The voice is loud. But guess what? A sledgehammer is louder. You can do it when you B&Q it.
So I'm really curious your take on this one, because I'm going to say I kind of like it. What's wrong with it in your view?
But that's okay. EJ, that you like it.
Advertising is subjective, but
Exactly. No, my issue with it is that I feel it's almost purpose on steroids. I mean, breaking down a wall is not a Superman story. Is it believable for B&Q? Not really. Is it funny? Not really. So I think they take their role as a company just too serious, to be honest. I mean, they sell nails, they sell screws. They're not like an Apple or a Nike. And probably what also sort of turns me off a little bit is the little punchline. You can do it when you B&Q it. It sort of has this sort of 80s tagline to it. I'm sure that when the ad agency was presenting it, the client was sitting there and clapping. So I think this is just simply an example of when purpose becomes too self-important, when I don't feel the product can deliver on it.
But I guess why I liked it was, I think we've all had that feeling, if you're a homeowner and you've got this project that's sort of weighing on your mind and something's been on your list for months, and I just really, and your partner, your family members maybe nagging you to start this project. I think it was sort of feeding into that psychology and sort of purposely dramatizing that a little bit to make a point.
Yeah, I feel, in some ways, I think you're right. There are definite element of getting an insight right. I was nodding through the thing as well. I think it's such a fine balance, right? I just feel that, come on, you're in a home improvement store. It almost becomes too much. I think they might have gotten away with it if they didn't end up with that tagline that almost turns it too serious.
Yeah.
Because else I would probably have bought into it. I'd have been like, yeah, I get it. It's kind of tongue in cheek. But then when they end up with this sort of very sort of male focused, we believe in ourselves, we are store, we're here, it becomes too much. So it's subtle differences, but I think these subtle differences really matters when we talk about purpose.
Yeah, I see your point. They could have, like, one more layer of lightheartedness. Maybe it would have helped this ad along. Maybe they could have relied on one of the genres we've seen quite a bit and talked about in previous episode of kind of making it more of a horror film. So,
yeah, the endless home improvement horror show would probably have been more palatable.
Okay, this brings us to our last miss. which is an unusual one. Can't wait to talk about this one. It's from London-based underwear brand Peach House, if I'm hopefully correcting that or pronouncing that correctly, which puts a literal spin on common public speaking advice that we've all heard. Imagine the crowd is wearing their underwear. So let's watch this ad from the agency Dude.
What if the audience hate it? I've never spoken in public before. Why on earth did I agree to do this? What if they don't think I'm funny? You've got no choice. Why on earth did I agree to do this? What if people think I'm a fraud? What if I get myself on a runaway person?
Hello, my name is Gemma. I'm going to perform some new material for you.
It is so lovely to see so many women in the audience today. You've all dressed up, I can see.
One day I decided to look inside myself and think, what's my familiar space?
To my beautiful sister and her, there's still time to kill you if you hurt her new husband.
I've been thinking about love songs. I've been thinking about endings. Maybe I've been thinking about both of these things, because here I am at another one.
I've given up laundry night for this. I've got one dirty sock on the top of the pile going, when's Mummy coming home to give me a bath?
And then suddenly I'd stumbled upon hope. I finally had somewhere to start.
He would have to know that if he's marrying her, he's marrying me.
Our liberation is bound up in each other, in friendship.
Thank you all so much for coming. You have been a wonderful audience.
All right, Thomas, fire away.
Yeah, I think we should have warned our audience about all that nakedness to begin with. Oh gosh, it feels like a bad Dove riff, but the big difference is that they, over the years, have built their brand on sort of insightful, authentic experiments. And somehow this just seems too staged. I'm not really buying the premise. I've been a public speaker for about 15 years. No. So it almost feels like, hey, how can we show women in underwear in a insightful way, but it just doesn't land on its feet, unfortunately. I think Jerry Seinfeld once said that most people rather want to go to a funeral in the coffin rather than do the speech. And so maybe we should turn that into the next upcoming funeral service ad.
Not only, I mean, I agree with everything you said, but it's like I was expecting, at least at the end, some sort of something about some cause they're supporting. There was really nothing. It's almost a little bit self-serving. I can't articulate why it exactly didn't work for me, but like it was just like a little, too flippant and weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it bothers me, and I think maybe it is because it kind of feels staged, which brings us back to the sort of Comcast one where they actually succeed doing something that kind of seems a little bit more authentic. Plus, maybe I'm just lacking humor today, but I just didn't really feel the jokes were funny either, and that's sort of also.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. It was like trying to use the Dove playbook in a way that just sort of fell flat as we're having this discussion during the 20th anniversary of that Real Beauty campaign that we just did quite a bit on at Ad Age, and I just recently went back and looked at some of those groundbreaking ads, and this just comes nowhere near that.
Yeah, and it's strange you mentioned that, right? Because 3 to 5 years ago, I feel our sort of very sort of important, self-congratulatory advertising industry love to do these type of social experiments, but I think it's something that's sort of fallen out of trend a little bit. So it's not something we see as much anymore. And then when we do see it, I think I probably set the bar quite high, and it just doesn't deliver on that. And it's a category that's full of insights. There's so much beautiful women empowerment work out there. So it just falls flat. It's just not living up to the expectations of the category and the important cause it is to empower women.
Okay, we're going to have to end it there. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in. And this is EJ Schultz, news editor at Ad Age. As always, I want to thank our guest, Thomas Kolster of the Goodvertising Agency, and give a special shout out to our producer, Lauren Ciardio. We'll catch everyone next month for another episode of Purpose Marketing Hits and Misses. See you later.